Okay, well, we are live here at Southern Sports Gumbo for a little Sunday night recap. We're going to talk some hockey and then some baseball. So I'm going to start with Sweets. Give us some hockey news here about Team USA.
Team USA, love it. Gold medal winners today in the title match against the Canadians in Cortino today. We won with a golden goal, 2-1. Jack Hughes, who about a half hour before he scored the golden goal, had his chicklets knocked out by a stick from one of the Canadian players. But they asked him if he wanted to come out. He said hell no, shook it off, and came back and got the winning goal. And yours truly in a group chat with these two gentlemen and about 10, 12 other guys, called the shot. I know y'all don't believe this, but I did call the shot. Said Hughes is pissed off now. He's going to come back and finish it with a golden goal. He did. Nostradamus here called it. Happy, happy, happy. I'm glad the Americans won. Coolest thing about it though was honestly was the goalie Connor Hellebuck, who literally stood on his head. He had 40, I think 42, 43 saves,
41 save.
and
42.
41 saves, and gave up one goal. Just an unbelievable performance. Probably the best single game goalie performance in the history of U.S. hockey. Fantastic. And then after honoring Johnny Gaudreau, who's a Team USA member who was tragically killed along with his brother the night before his sister's wedding in 2024 by a drunk driver while on their bicycles. And the team honored him. They brought his two kids out on the ice with him, took a picture with the team and his jersey and stuff, and that was just really cool to see. That got the waterworks going for a lot of people, yours truly included. Awesome stuff. Kev?
Yes, great day. I mean, there's nothing better than Olympic hockey in the Winter Olympics. Going back, today's game brings back the memories of the '80s, and they wore the uniforms. The tops matched the uniforms from the 1980 team, and today was the exact same date for 46 years ago. So it was February 23rd that we won the gold 46 years ago. So a lot of things lined up for that. You mentioned Helmichuk. I mean, guy, he was just incredible. Or Hellebuck, and he should have been the MVP. They named Connor McDavid the MVP, but that's just so wrong. Both teams would tell you today. Canada after the game, one of their players said, "If you watch the game, you knew who the better team was." Well, the better team was the U.S. because the goalie for the U.S. played his ass off. You lose, you're not the better the team. But they did put a lot of pressure. And just like in 1980 when we won, this team won with guts today. You mentioned, Hughes and the high stick incident, and then, but man, it's the second quarter or second period, and we're up 1-0, and we get two penalties within 30 seconds of each other, and they go 5-on-3, and we fought that off. They didn't score. We had one more power play that we defended late in the third period, where with the last 40 seconds, we went from a 4-minute power play and 2.5 minutes later to 4-on-4 to the last 40 seconds. We had to defend a power play, which made us 18 for 18 on power play stops. So the defense that we played in this tournament was incredible. And most people won't talk about that, but Canada spent the whole second quarter in our end, had almost 20 shots. I think they had 19 shots in the second quarter to our 7. We were 8-8 at the end of the first period. And then the 10-6, they outshot us in the third. Early in the third, they had two great goal opportunities. And again, Hellebuck made a great save. And then we had Hellebuck and a couple of defensemen, in the goal one time that fought it off. So just a tremendous effort. And then, to win the goal, just a great moment and a great event. Watching the Tkachuk brothers, they would periodically show the bench. And, when they were putting so much pressure on us, both those guys on the bench were saying, "We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game." And so they kept the team really, they really pushed and were leaders and kept the team fighting. And that's really why we won. We just kind of fought and won. overtime, both teams, their first trip down, had great opportunities to score. You mentioned how Canada would, we were talking about it before, and how Canada would line up and come full force, and McDavid would it just so fast into our end. But then we had numbers on our first trip down and missed a shot, and then they put some good pressure on us again, and the puck just happened to kind of be out there in no man's land, 20 feet from the puck, and Hughes just reached out with his stick and poked it down the ice, and we got a 3-on-1 and just out hustled him. And Resniak made a good pass crossing the goal back outside, almost to the blue line, and Hughes got it, shot it low between his legs, and just a great event. There's no better day, and today was a great day. We're going to talk about baseball, but there's nothing better than when you win the Olympic gold in hockey. So it was a great moment. We will talk about, just like in '80, we will talk about this 10 years from now, 15 years from now, just because of how we won. Outshot, I think it was 42-26. So we won on defense and guts. Simply what it was. D-Mac, you got anything? Go ahead, sweet.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Matt Boldy's first goal. Amazing. He's got a 1-on-3 down the ice. He flips the puck up in the air and kind of taps it forward with his stick in the air, passes it to himself, and then just out hustles the two Canadians, gets it, and then slides it glove side on the goal. It was just an unbelievable shot. Both the goals by Team USA were incredible. And just great stick work and hustle by the guys. Just awesome to see. And Kev, as you said, I'll be honest with you, I love hockey. We used to go to a lot of games when it was here in Atlanta. After it left, you just don't watch it as much for me anyway. But come Olympic time, we're tuned into USA Hockey and are big fans. And it's one thing that we all agree on here on Southern Sports Gumbo, and just I know all the viewers and listeners agree as well. This is when we all come together and prove why America is the greatest country on earth. So good stuff, D-Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could have summed it up any better for me, Sweets. What a day to be an American, right? Hockey has not always been what us Americans are known for. So when we can go out and win the Olympics, win gold, it's definitely a great day to be here and be American. So. Any other thoughts on hockey before we wrap up?
Hopefully get to run it back in a few years.
Yeah, just the moment. We lost to them in the World Championships last year, and just to be able to come back and win. I think it says a lot when you have a team that plays for their country. And we have the Olympics, we have Ryder Cup, we have other events where you get to wear the U.S. and so there's been, I won't mention other sports, but there's other sports sometimes that when they wear that flag and they play for it, that they don't really buy into that whole team thing and go at it. But that's where this team was special, just like that 1980 team. They played for the flag. They played for the team. They talked about it. Their coach talked about how in 1980 it meant inspirations for and this team bought into that same thing. Them honoring Goodrow afterwards with, kids and then things. It's just this team, you could tell they were so close that they fought for each other, and that's why they won. I've seen Ryder Cup teams lose because Europe was more bought in. And it was just fun to watch this hockey team win because they were totally all in for each other.
Yeah. No political agendas. That was nice too.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you guys ready to roll into a little college SEC baseball here?
Lead us off, baby.
Perfect. I'll get things started with the South Carolina Gamecocks. I remember Thursday, I think I predicted they'd go 2-3 against the service academies. Friday lost to Army 9-5. Honestly, for a minute there, I thought they may lose 2 or 3 of these games this weekend. but the Gamecocks bounced back beat Navy 8-0 on Saturday, and kind of led by Will Craddock, the freshman who played some first base on Saturday, went 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs. Amp Phillips gave him 6 clean innings of baseball, added a couple strikeouts, and then a win today over Air Force 4-2. Will Craddock, again, the talented freshman, 2 for 4 with a home run. He had a home run in midweek, so he had a really solid week entering in that lineup as a starter. So, shout out to him as a really talented freshman. Any thoughts on South Carolina, or Sweets, do you
That
want to
that
jump
that
to a
that, that
team?
kid could get somebody some player of the week points, maybe, huh?
He
Craddock.
could get their bench some player of the week points, and it could help another team win and not make a game so close if someone else doesn't get freshman player of the week.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Oh, go Craddock. Go Craddock.
I just think the way they, after losing the game one, and they got down early in game one, and then they came back and hit the ball. I think that was the significant thing for me with South Carolina this weekend was watching them hit the ball over the weekend and how they got better. Because that's my question mark for them. Their pitching is not bad, but it's not elite by no means. So they're going to have to hit the ball to win games. So seeing them step up and do that some this weekend, I think that's a big plus for South Carolina. And multiple guys did it. Sutter played well. You mentioned Craddock. They had a couple other guys that's coming on and hitting the ball. Talmadge hit the ball good last weekend. So they're showing signs of being able to have a good offense.
Yep, Sweets, you want to roll with a team here?
Let's go. So I'll talk about the Tennessee Volunteers who went 1-2 on the weekend in Josh Ellender's home debut. Tony Vitello is not in Kansas City or not in Knoxville anymore anyway, huh? Yeah, so they lost 2 of 3 on Friday. Tennessee won with a walk-off homer in the last inning, 4-3. Then came back Saturday, dropped one 2-1 to Kent State on that Saturday tilt. They went 0 for 15 with runners on base. And game 3 today, they lost 9-5. Had 2 errors, 7 walks, and 4 hit batsmen. You are not going to win a lot of baseball games with 2 errors, 7 walks, and 4 hit batsmen, regardless of how well you hit the ball. They only scored 5 runs, but when you walk that many people and give up that many free bases, you are going to be in trouble. Landon Mack on Saturday struck out a career high 11 batters in 6 2/3, despite Tennessee losing that game. Henry Ford, third baseman, hit a bomb on Saturday and added an RBI today. And pitcher Blaine Brown, outfielder pitcher Blaine Brown, two-way player, recorded a 1-2-3 inning midweek and had an RBI today. So Tennessee's going to be fine. They still got a lot of talent on that staff. They're going to miss Vitello. I think Ellender's just filling the roster out. They got a lot of new faces, but there's a lot of talent there. Tennessee hosts Bellarmine on Tuesday, and before traveling to Arlington for the weekend to play in the Energy Bank College Baseball Series against USC, Arizona State, and Virginia Tech. DMAC, any thoughts on Tennessee?
Yeah, their pitching walked too many guys this weekend, that's for sure. But I had more pitching questions than hitting questions going into the season. And while they did walk too many guys, that almost flips for me. When are the bats going to come alive for Tennessee? You know, Kent State is a good mid-major team, don't get me wrong. Watched them play against LSU last week. I think much different outcome for the Tigers, though. But what I can't get is, Ellender was the hitting coach at Tennessee, so it's not like, they promoted their pitching coach and, the Tony Vitello effect. I figured they'd be down a little bit, but this team can't hit right now. And the fielding has been atrocious. So, they've got to get the bats working. And I hate to have an overreaction like this because I think they'll bounce back. It is only week 2. So I don't want to put too much stock in their year based off this weekend. But you definitely don't want to lose out of conference mid major series in February if you're in the SEC. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Exactly the same. They're hitting. It's only been 2 weekends, but again, when we did the previews Thursday, we talked about watching what teams do this weekend to see if they improve from week one, the gaps they had, and the bats from Tennessee only went the other direction. They had some good days week one, but this weekend, game one and game two, they did not hit the ball very well. I still think the way their pitching has been the first 2 weekends, I think their pitching is going to be fine, to be honest. But the question is, when is their hitting going to come around? Ford has hit the ball well for them. Brown hit it well last weekend, didn't do much this weekend. But that's the question. Is when are they going to hit the ball? I'm like you. I think.
Hitters,
What's that?
I was going to say hitters 3 through 9 today went 2 for 23.
Yeah.
So I mean that's not going to get you a lot of dubs.
No. And and again, I do feel they will, because these guys, they have a lot of highly recruited guys that can hit the ball, and some proved it last year. But that's the big question mark with Tennessee. After this weekend, to me, I would say, when it comes to SEC baseball, as we talk about some of these teams, I'm going to say the SEC was a big winner this weekend as a whole. The teams that won and performed, but Tennessee was certainly the team that went the other direction.
Where are we going next?
Kevin, you're up.
So I want to go to Arkansas. We talked about teams that proved and stepped forward. They played Xavier. Xavier's been in the tournament 5 times in the last 9 years, and they got a sweep this weekend against a team that it's good to get a sweep against that team. Friday they won 5-2. Saturday 7-6 in a very, very tightly contested game, and today they won 11-0 behind Cole Fisher, who pitched an 8-inning shutout. Their bats were good this weekend. Koziel was really good. Helfrich was good. So their bats improved. Now, I say that, though, a lot of it was around a couple of guys. Aloy hit a home run today. So I think Van Horn would still want to see some more guys in that lineup come on and not just have it be 3 or 4 guys. Robinette hit the ball well, too. But overall, a really good weekend for Arkansas. Game 1, good pitching by Geichel. Game 3, good pitching by Fisher. And again, overall, their bats performed pretty well as a whole this weekend. D-Mac, any thoughts about the Razorbacks? Do you want to call the Hogs?
Yeah, it's funny that we're questioning this team. They're sitting at 6-1. They hit the ball much better this week. And I got to give a shout out to Hunter Dietz, a guy who pitched less than 2 innings, or maybe right at 2 last week. Came back with 4 this week, 2 earned runs, 9 punch outs. His stuff's filthy as he gets more comfortable being back in the game of baseball and being on the mound. This guy, I don't know, the SEC doesn't give out a comeback player of the year award, but 2 weeks in, because I've seen how filthy the stuff is, he's a guy who is a prime candidate for that. If the SEC did that in baseball. So yeah, this is a team that will likely be in Omaha again. Now, when they get to Omaha, that's where it really sours for them. But this is a really good team, and now that they're hitting, Kozel had hit for a cycle yesterday, so big day for him. Really, really good player. Started out his career at Vanderbilt and has found a home in Hog Nation over there. What about you, Sweets?
Yeah, just I wanted to talk about Colin Fisher today, who he should be the SEC Pitcher of the Week. The complete game, 1 hit shutout, struck out 11, no walks. I mean, that's not going to get much better than that. So hats off to the young man. Arkansas, it's never talent. they've always got talent, and Van Horn is he's a good skipper. They just have trouble finishing. Um, and I mean, but a lot of teams do, so it's not just them. Where are we going next, DMAC?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mizzou baseball, a team that just all they do is hit. They scored, let's see, 12, 17, and 16, 33, 45 runs this weekend over New Haven, swept in 7 innings each game. Drew Dickinson coming up as their starting or their pitching coach this year from Virginia has really worked wonders. Pimentel went 5 innings, 10 Ks, 1 earned run. McDevitt went 5 innings, 7 Ks, 2 earned runs. And then Kalen Brink went 5 innings, 7 Ks today. You look at a guy like Tyler Macon, he was 8 for 12 this weekend with 9 RBIs after a monster weekend last year. A guy like Pierre Sills had multi-hit games twice this weekend, counted for 6 or 7 RBIs. And that's what Kerrick Jackson's teams are scrappy teams. They had a bit of bad luck last year, some injuries. They could never really get going offensively. They've been healthy so far this year, minus Caden Peer, their star center fielder from last year, is not in the lineup right now, whether it's an injury or something else. They're producing these run totals, and while it may be against lower level competition, you give a coach like Kerrick Jackson and a team like Missouri a little confidence heading into SEC play, and they're going to win some games. You look at what they did to A&M last year. They won that Friday night game. So what did they go out and do? They won Saturday, Sunday, and swept the Aggies in Aggie land. This is the team I'm most excited about at the moment. Glad to see them have some life in the program right now, getting some wins. After scoring 34 runs last Sunday, had a good midweek performance, and now to put 47 or 45 runs up this weekend, really good for this program. Any thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean you gotta feel good about them because they're not a team that spends a lot of money on NIL in baseball. One other player I want to mention that's played really good for him. He didn't play today is Isaiah Frost. He's hitting almost 600, and he had another couple of good games in Game 1 and Game 2 this weekend. Their bats, their outfield. Macon's played outfield and first base. They've hit the ball really well. Masonette has hit it well too at shortstop. Garrett Goldberg has had some decent games. He plays short and second. But I think also too, you really got to look at. I think their pitching is much improved. When you talk at Pimentel, McDevitt, and Lowe's, they have three solid starters. I still don't think they're going to win a lot of SEC games, but they're going to be competitive. And last year on the mound, they didn't have when they trotted pitchers out there on the mound last year. They didn't have three starters, and so they do this year. So they're going to get more wins. And so, hats off to them. Hats off to Carrick for competing and building that team. Uh, I think they're going to, continue to compete and win some games. Keegan Nutson's another guy that I like because he plays multiple positions, second, third, um, and he'll DH some too. So give him credit. Sweet, your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to talk about their pitching. To start the season, every starter through 7 games has won a minimum of 5 innings. Their rotation of Kellen Brink, McDevitt, Pimentel, and Dorman have a combined ERA of 2.16 through 2 weeks. If they're able to maintain that type of pace, they're going to be, a lot better than we thought. Now they played New Haven. I said they were going to score 45 this weekend. How many did they score, DMAC?
I think 45.
Oh, I get lucky sometimes. No, but their pitching has been fantastic to date. Their starters giving them some quality starts. If they're able to to maintain that they're gonna do a lot better than many thought. So they may get a few upsets this year in the SEC. That'll take us next to UGA, I believe, correct?
Works for me.
Yes, sir. All right. So UGA is 6-1 on the year. They swept, broke out the brooms and swept Sanford this weekend at Foley Field. Closing out today with a 22-0 shutout. They won 12-4 yesterday and 11-1 on Friday. So they hung. They also hung 40. They hung 45 as well. So that's seems to be a magic number for SEC baseball teams this weekend. Did a fantastic job. They run ruled Sanford twice. Friday night, Joey Volchko got the win for Georgia. Colby Branch, shortstop, homered in all 3 games this weekend, including a 2-run shot today. First baseman Michael O'Shaughnessy hit 2 bombs today and had 4 RBIs. One of them was over 450. Trey Phelps, third baseman, went 4 for 4 today to extend his hitting streak to 20 games dating back to last season.
Smile pretty. So
It's Kevin watching over there.
I thought that it was. I knew it wasn't the voices in my head. I thought it might have been one of the ghosts that hang out here, but it was Kev again. Likes to sneak in on us. Anyway, yeah. 22-0 today. Big win for Georgia. Every starter in the lineup got at least 1 hit and scored a run, and that's not a feat that the program has accomplished since 2010. They had 10 runs in the 3rd inning today, most they've had since last year. In a game, Kenny Ishikawa, an update on him. He is still out. He's going to be week to week. They're not expecting him back for the midweek game, so they're hoping by next weekend. And they're going to be fired up to keep it going. DMAC, thoughts on Georgia baseball?
Yeah, the emergence of Colby Branch back. Well, he's been in the lineup, but has not hit well into this series. I think he hit 2 home runs this weekend in Foley Field. I was glad to see him have a good week for multiple reasons. Few self-serving, of course, but Georgia needs their guys 1 through 9 hitting well for them to reach their full potential, and that pretty much happened this weekend. So all the only place to go is continue hitting the baseball, especially when you're in Foley Field. Our buddy Max could probably hit home runs in that field, so they need to keep swinging. Any thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, so some of our friends talked about this Georgia team maybe not hitting the ball like they had the last couple of years, and I referenced that they needed to kind of wait and see what this weekend brought, because I felt like some guys would step forward, and they certainly did. Friday night, Cole Johnson, freshman, stepped forward. A guy that has been good every game except he didn't play in the game 1. Is Henry Allen. He's hit like 3 home runs, and he's hitting close to 500. And he hit home runs Friday and Saturday this weekend. Ryan Black has came back in the lineup. Trey Phelps is one of the best hitters in the SEC. Daniel Jackson's had some good games. So I think this Georgia batting lineup is just fine. I think they're going to put a lot of runs on the board. I don't think there's any drop off in that at all. And like what we've said, the pitching, if they can get 3 good starters, they're going to be really elite. So we'll see. But their bats certainly came to life this weekend, hit a lot of home runs. Michael O'Shaughnessy hit, I think, 2 home runs this weekend. And I believe Jordy Oriak did too. So, but I think they, as a whole, they hit more than 10 home runs when you count all 3 games. So Georgia's back. They're just fine. It'll be interesting. Again, the SEC, like what I said a minute ago, to me, they were the big winners in baseball this weekend. So from there, let's go to Florida. We going into the preview this weekend, playing Kennesaw. We thought that potentially Kennesaw might get them a game or 2. And Florida went out and got a sweep. Good pitching on games 1 and 2. Game 1 won 9-3. Game 2 they won 11-0. Aiden King shut out. Kennesaw, which coming into this series had scored 30 runs. Game three, Kennesaw came out early, got ahead, scored nine, but Florida's bats, stayed alive all weekend, and Florida was able to come back and get this game. I think they were down like 6-2 today, and they came back and won 12-9. Credit their pitching in games one and two, but credit their bats all weekend as they combined. I believe it was for around 31 runs, 9, 11, and 12. Hitters played well, but when you look at all weekend, I think Strayer as a freshman shows a lot of life. Lawson obviously is a good hitter. I'll tell you a guy that's been really good every game for them that transferred from Ole Miss, Ethan Suriak. He's hit a couple home runs and did again this weekend. So he's been really good. So I think this Florida team, and obviously Kyle Jones, the center fielder, he's probably been their best player. But I think this Florida team showed again life. We talked about this weekend. Could their pitching hold Kennesaw down? And they certainly did in games one and game two. And then my question going into the season, would their bats be deep enough? And this weekend they certainly were. Sweet, your thoughts on the Gators?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about Ernesto Lugo Canchola. The Southpaw retired 19 consecutive batters to start his Gators career before a wild pitch allowed a runner in the third inning today. And he has not given up a hit yet this season. So that's a heck of a start to a career there. Florida's going to be fine. I think in baseball, they've always got talent there. It's just a matter of consistency. Again, mid-February, I'm not overly concerned about consistent or who's hitting or who's pitching's hitting their stride or whatever, because nobody wins a title in February. But you do want to see improvement. You want to see teams, getting better weekly, and that's what Florida did this week by hanging double digits in 3 consecutive games. So they're on the right path, and I think most of the teams in the SEC are on the same. They're just kind of trying to ramp up to the season. Where are we going next, D-Mac?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk Florida for a second, and then I'll jump into Alabama. The Gators, my two biggest takeaways this weekend, their pitching was really good the first 2 days. And my second takeaway, a guy named Blake Sear, who has had a really hot start to the season. Crazy to think that, 3 days before the season started, he was still battling. He's a veteran player, but was battling for a starting spot. Kyle Jones gets a lot of the credit in the outfield, but Blake Sear has hit really well this season so far. Shout out to him. And now let's move over to the Crimson Tide. They played Rhode Island this weekend. They won 19-4, 8-5, and 11-1 today. The freshman Upchurch on the mound today went 5 innings, struck out 7, gave up 0 runs, and only walked 1. Brady Neal, a guy we talked about on Thursday as their leading hitter, average wise, was 5 for 7 this weekend. And then Justin LeBron played like Justin LeBron and hit 3 home runs this weekend, added 6 or 7 RBIs to the weekend, too. John Lim, who caught on Saturday, was 3 for 3. So they're getting really good production out of the catcher position. You look at Brady Neal and John Lim this weekend. They were 8 of 10 this weekend at the plate. So really strong numbers. If your catchers are hitting 800 every weekend, you're gonna win a lot of ball games. Any thoughts, Sweets?
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say, he extended his on base streak to 41 games dating back to last year at Southern Illinois. That's incredible I mean, that's how you score runs, is by getting on the sack. So great job there. LeBron is LeBron. He, all he does is hit and get on base. Amazing ball player. Bama's going to have to rely on consistent pitching this year. They were able to put up 38 runs against Rhode Island this weekend, but they're not going to be able to put up 38 runs every weekend. They're going to have to be a little more consistent on the bump. So we'll see how that goes as the season progresses. But looking forward to watching the team mature and see how far they go. Who's that take us to next, sir? Or
A little
Kevin?
Kevin talk
Kevin.
here.
Kevin.
Yeah. So, again, you guys said it about Bama. They hit the ball well this weekend. Upchurch, I think, is a big story because they need a good pitcher to emerge. So I think, we'll see how that goes for him and if that continues. So I think, I would put them in the same boat as when I talk about some of these other teams, a little bit like Missouri. Um, we expected them to be able to win this weekend. They probably scored more than we thought. LeBron is, again, I think he's probably the best player in the SEC. We'll see what he does when he gets into SEC play. But to me, Upchurch was the story that I would mention out of that. So which who you got for your third team you want to talk about, or third and fourth,
Uh,
however you want to roll?
let's go hotty toddy. Talk some Ole Miss
Lord.
baseball here. Ole Miss completed their 3-game series with Missouri State this weekend at Swayze Field. Got a sweep. They won their games 11-6 on Friday, 6-3 yesterday, and 3-2 today. So as the weekend went on, their bats slowed down a little bit. Ole Miss has scored at least one run in the first inning of all 8 games this season, so they're getting off and putting a number up in the first inning, putting pressure on the other team. You always want to see that out of your lineup. Braden Randall got a game-winning RBI today in the bottom of the 8th to seal the sweep, but he's been clutch for them so far this year when they've had guys on base. Judd Udermark hit 3 home runs this weekend, including 2 Friday, and then he tied it up today with a solo shot. So he's been raking well. And Austin Foley hit a grand slam on Friday, marking their second game in a row that they had a grand slam. So that's a pretty neat stat for them. On the season, Judd Udermark has 3 bombs and 4 ribs. Tristan Becerra has 4 hits, including 2 ribs. Pitcher Will Lebert has 5 innings with 7 Ks, and Dom Decker, second baseman, hit his first collegiate home run today. So good for him. Ole Miss will conclude their 9-game homestand Tuesday against Southeast Missouri State before traveling to Houston this weekend for the Bruce Bolt College Classic. Should be a lot of fun for them. They'll face a little bit better competition there, and Mike Bianco's he's going to be fine. He's won a World Series. He knows the lay of the land. For Ole Miss, they're going to have to continue to hit the ball. I know that going 11-6-3, especially against the Sunday starter, he's not wanting to score 3 runs against anybody's Sunday starter, much less Missouri State. So Ole Miss is going to want to hit the ball a little better. I think they're going to be fine. Udermark, is a home run waiting to happen. We'll see how the season continues to go, and they've got a pretty tough schedule too. So we'll see how it goes for them. Kevin, your thoughts on Ole Miss baseball?
Yeah, so they've got off to a better start than honestly I thought they would. Yeah, Missouri State's a competitive team. A win for the SEC, getting a sweep here. Ole Miss proved that they can play well. You mentioned Udermark and Foley and how you expect them to hit well, and I would totally agree with that. To me, the surprises for them is Pasanis. He's hit much better than I thought he would. He's going to be a key part of their lineup. And then you also mentioned Liberty. He's pitched much better than I thought he would too. Ole Miss was a team that I felt like with Townsend and in their Friday night starter that they would be good. I thought Game 3 would be a challenge for them, all season. And Liberty has pitched really well. So, again, Ole Miss looks like they're going to compete. You mentioned Bianco; he always wins. It's this weekend. Like I said, was a win for the SEC and how they played throughout it. It also was a head scratcher because every team in the SEC has got to be looking around, saying it's just not going to be easy. Which we knew that going into the season anyway. So there's going to be a lot of tough series. D-Mac?
Yeah, this Ole Miss team, I expected more runs from both teams, Ole Miss and Missouri State this weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, both pitchers were effective enough to keep the ball in the park. But Missouri State, those guys, all they do is swing for the fences. There are a lot of JUCO guys. lower rated power guys that get recruited to Missouri State to hit home runs, essentially. Really powerful club. So, big weekend series win for Ole Miss to be able to sweep. And without previewing next week, I'm excited to see them play Friday against Baylor and Sunday against Coastal Carolina. So on to you, Kevin, for your next team.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Kentucky here. They gave up 6 runs in 3 games and lost one. And so, their pitching looked good week one. The pitching looked really good in week two also. And the one game they lost, their total pitching combined only gave up 2 hits, I believe it was.
Four.
Four, no,
Or yeah,
2 hits.
no, they gave up two and they had four.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you're
they
right.
had 4 and they only gave up 2 hits. So to give up 2 hits and lose 1-0, it's a tough way to lose. Uh, and that was Nate Harris. Jackson Jellikin pitched really good in game one. Ben Cleaver pitched, another solid game on game two. And they won those and then lost a tough game three. One thing we mentioned, in the preview, Kentucky goes on the road early in the season, and they did. So they've been on the road both weekends. So, things like that can happen. Evansville's not a bad mid-major team. I really probably thought Kentucky would get a sweep here, but they didn't. When you look at some of their hitters, Tharnish continues to hit the ball well. Hudson Brown hits it well. Ethan Hindle's had a couple decent games. Lawrence is playing well in short. Um, Owen Jenkins, game one, hit the ball well, and as a freshman catcher and DH. So I still think Kentucky's going to be plenty good. But the thing that obviously impresses me is their pitching. When you go 1, 2, 3, Oklahoma probably is the best pitching, but Kentucky's pretty close, I would say, when you're looking at top 2 or 3 teams in the SEC. And I'm not sure we expected that coming into this. We expected them to be really good. I'm not sure we expected them to be top 2 or 3 teams in the league pitching wise. So, DMAC, your thoughts on Kentucky?
Yeah, pitching has been phenomenal for them. I didn't see how many stolen bases they had this weekend, but I think it was down just due to the fact that they didn't have the base runners on base as much as they'd like. So for Kentucky to have the season they want to have, they've got to draw more walks, hit more singles, so they can get the movement on the base path. But still took 2 out of 3, and game three came down to giving up 2 hits. So they're going to need to get the bats working a little bit more. But this is a team that can be really dangerous in the SEC. What are your thoughts, Sweets?
I agree. Mingione's a hell of a manager. He knows what he's doing. He knows what strings to pull. He's going to be fine. Kentucky's going to be fine. Listen, when you give up 6 runs over a 3-game series in a weekend, you feel good about your chances. And like Kev said, when you give up 2 hits and 1 run, I've got to think 99 times out of 100 you're going to win that game. Today was that one time that you weren't. So it happens, but it happened in February. So nobody's going to care if if Kentucky's sitting there hosting a regional come May or June. They'll be fine. The biggest thing for me was their lack of their lack of hitting. But again, it's February. I'm not overly concerned about it. Hit me back in April. We'll see where they're at. Who does that take us to next, sir?
Yeah, that's going to take us the Auburn Tigers, who went and won the little baseball classic over in Globe Life in Arlington. Yeah, they played Kansas State on Friday, won 5-1. Jake Marciano went 6 innings, 8 punch outs, no earned runs. Bristol Carter had a hit, couple stolen bases. Bub Terrell had a couple hits. And then Friday they played Florida State, which is a ranked team, won 8-5. Bristol Carter again 3 for 3, couple stolen bases. Jackson Sanders 5 innings pitched, 9 Ks, gave up 3 runs. And then to round things out today, they played Louisville. another top 16 team. Carter had a 2-for-5 game, couple more stolen bases. Terrell went 3-for-5, and Alex Petrovic went 5 innings, struck out 5, gave up 3 runs. So if they can get 5 innings out of all of their starting pitchers, they're going to be a dangerous team come SEC time. Chris Rimbert was out this weekend. Brandon McCain, his backup, hit a home run this weekend, filled in nicely for him. But I know the Auburn Tigers want, a potential player of the year candidate in the SEC back as soon as possible, and Chris Rembert. And, if he gets going, you have a guy like Bristol Carter getting on base and Bub Terrell hitting, along with their catcher, Freilich. They're going to be a really dangerous team throughout the year. Any thoughts, Sweets?
Yeah, great weekend for Auburn. Listen, to get to sweep in that little tournament there with both Louisville and Florida State. That was a great weekend for Auburn. They gave up 4 against Florida State in the first today, but only gave up 1 the rest of the way, I believe it was, or 2 the rest of the way. 1 the rest of the way yesterday. Sorry about that. Yeah. So that's a great a great finish for that pitching staff. As you said, Bristol Carter 6-for-11 on the weekend. Brandon McCrane, listen, 7-for-12 from a backup with 5 runs scored and no errors. Give me a dugout full of those backups right there. Chase Freilich, their catcher, had 3 RBIs in their comeback win against Florida State and added a home run today. So they're getting some help from behind the plate as well. Auburn's won 8 in a row at Globe Life Field, dating back to 2022. So it's kind of a home away from home for there. And their pitching really stepped up when they needed to this weekend against both Louisville and Florida State. So they both did a good job. Kev, thoughts?
Yeah, so if I were going to pick a team of the week in the SEC this week, it would absolutely be Auburn coming out this weekend. So you look at their first 4 games they played. Game 1 and Game 2, they scored 2 runs. Broke out in Game 3, and then Game 4, they got shut out. So going into this weekend, hitting was where are they going to be? And they go out and score 5, 8, and 10, 23 runs over these 3 games against good quality teams. So big wins for them, and they stepped up and played well. I'm not worried after the first 2 weeks about Auburn's pitching. We were a little concerned going into the season. We thought Auburn was a top 10 team, but the thing we wanted to see was their pitching staff, and I'm fully good with their arms. I think they're going to be solid. You guys mentioned McCrane. Look, does Rembert come back and play shortstop? There was talk about that, going into the season. So with him proving that he can play at second, you're not going to sit a guy down that's hitting over 500. You're going to at least see where that's going to take him. So I think that's going to be interesting to see where that takes their lineup. And again, you guys mentioned Bristol Carter and Terrell, and Freilich has been their most consistent hitter from the season. So I like Auburn. I love what they did this weekend. They answered a lot of question marks after last weekend. Sweet, you keep mentioning February. And you're right. You can't judge a team by 1 game, 2 games in February. But after the question marks at the plate, Auburn certainly answered.
Where does that take us next, D-Mac?
Wherever you want to go, Sweets.
Let's do it then. Let's talk Vanderbilt baseball, okay? Vanderbilt swept their 3-game series against Marist this weekend in Nashville. Won 16-5 in 8 on Friday, 12-1 in 7 yesterday, and 8-1 today. So they banged out 36 runs in 3 games while giving up a total of 7. Their offense has been fantastic. Over their last 5 home games, they've had 13 bombs, and they've outscored their opponents 65-11 in that span. That's a fantastic job. Braden Holcomb went 6-for-11 on the weekend with 2 bombs, a double, and 7 RBIs. 4 of those in Friday night's win. Mike Mancini hit 500 for the weekend, 5-for-10. That was his first weekend back from injury. Logan Johnstone, transfer, had 2 bombs over the weekend. had one 2-run shot Friday night and then a solo shot Saturday. Tommy Gooden had a home run and a double on Saturday, and Corbin Reynolds had his first collegiate home run on Friday night. So good for him. For the on the bump for them, Austin Nye pitched 5 scoreless on Saturday with 6 Ks and no walks. Hasn't given up a run in 9 innings so far this year. Connor Fennell, everybody's everything, got the win on Friday. He gave up 2 runs over 5 innings, 7 strikeouts. Nate Taylor started Saturday, allowed 1 unearned run and 1 hit over 4 innings while striking out 6. And Wyatt Nadeau looked great in relief today, striking out 4 consecutive batters over 2 innings, over 2 scoreless innings today. So Vanderbilt had a great weekend. Can continue to hit the ball well. Corbin, he always pushes the right buttons. He's a natty winner as well. That seems to be a theme with these SEC coaches. So Vanderbilt's always a tough out. You're not going to outsmart them. They got a solid program. They hit behind the runner well. They do the little things that teams do to win baseball games. I like to watch them play ball. DMAC, thoughts on Vanderbilt?
Yeah, they looked good this weekend. After a tough weekend in Globe Life Forum last weekend, nice to see them steady the ship a bit. And there's another team that has the potential to be really good. They're coached really well. They executed really well this weekend, and they've got quite a bit of depth. Rustin Rigdon played a little bit of second base. The other Johnstone, not Logan, but I think Colton maybe or Cole, played some second base. So they've got some position flexibility on this team, which is really exciting for them. Any thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, so I'm going to take Vanderbilt and agree, and spin and then take my last 2 teams here and kind of throw it all into one grouping. We expected Vanderbilt to play well and win these games and play a lot of people and score a lot of runs, and based on the competition, and they did that. So they proved what they needed to. I think the big thing for them was seeing Nate Taylor throw a little better than he has in the first 2 games. That's the third arm that they need, and he's plenty talented. So hats off to them. They played well. And then I want to just go ahead and throw in Oklahoma and Mississippi State here too. Both these teams dominated the weekend play, got a lot of at bats, played a lot of players, scored a lot of runs. I think both of them scored over 40 this weekend, and the story for Oklahoma: Cam Johnson, Mercurius, and then the freshman Cord Rager, game 3, pitched 5 innings and didn't give up a run. So again, I would say Oklahoma's pitching has been the best in the league so far, and they proved that. But again, based on the competition, we all expected Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt to play really well, score a lot of runs, and be dominant this weekend, which is exactly what they. Sweets, any thoughts on Oklahoma and Mississippi State to add to that?
I mean, I'm just looking. Oklahoma scored 57 runs, so they averaged what 19 a game, and gave up 1 over the 3 games. So it was just a simulated game for Oklahoma this weekend. It looks like they got to go work on some things. They padded some stats. Good for them. SEC plays coming. We'll see how they go. DMAC.
Yeah, Cam Johnson struck out 7, walked to 0 this week. What an improvement for him over the last couple of seasons. A kid who had all the tools to be great, lefty up around 97 as a freshman, and now as a junior has put it all together under Skip. So, this team is, a team that I know, Kevin, you and I are both high on. We'll see how things shake out once they start SEC play. But if you're a Sooner fan, you're happy right now with how this team's played so far. Sweet, we're gonna move over to you for A&M, and then I'll wrap up with Texas and LSU to end us.
Right. Sounds great. Number 24, Texas A&M remained undefeated by getting a sweep this weekend. They're now 7-0 after their sweep of Penn. The Fighting Quakers uh, came in and lost 1-0, 2-1, and 7-1 to Texas A&M. Not the dominant performance that we thought we would see from Texas A&M this weekend. Shout out to Penn for bowing up and giving A&M all they wanted this weekend. I don't think there are any of us that would have guessed that Texas A&M would have scored a total of 10 runs in 3 games against anybody this week, anybody on any 3-game series, much less against Penn this weekend. But again, that's February baseball. Listen, these guys are, they're just getting used to seeing somebody else besides their coach or the Jugs or whatever, So it's still a little new to them that they won their games, did what they had to do. Their pitchers were fantastic, obviously dominant. They haven't issued a walk in their last 35.2 innings of work, and that's an unbelievable stat. That's going to win you a lot of ball games unto itself. Not giving up free bases, that's a great thing for them. Caden Sorrell, who was named the SEC Player of the Week on February 16th. Is still raking. Gavin Grahovic had his 100th career hit this weekend against Penn. Nico Partita has 3 home runs, leads the team. Terrence Keel's hitting 350 plus. Grahovic is his average at the opening weekend was 600 with 3 home runs and 10 ribs. I mean, these guys were pounding the ball. That's why the 10-run outburst over 3 games against Penn was a little bit of a surprise. But that being said, they won all 3 games. They did what they had to do. And come May, nobody's going to remember anyway. So thoughts, D-Mac?
Yeah, the 2 freshmen on the left side of the infield, Boston Kellner, he had a game-winning hit on a fly ball, kind of misjudged Friday by the Penn center fielder. And then Nico Partita hit another home run this weekend. 2 freshmen looked really good, even in a series where the bats weren't working. Starting pitchers for A&M, I think combined for like 25 strikeouts and like 20 innings. So they were efficient on the mound as well. So, they're showing that, they're not just power bats over there in College Station. Maybe a little bit more of a, well-rounded baseball team this year. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, so we said the preview going into the weekend, we wanted to see their pitching, how they, could they step it up a notch and be better than they were week 1? And they gave up 3 runs. Or actually maybe just gave up 2 runs, didn't they? They was shutout Friday, 1 run Saturday, 1 run Sunday. So that's off to Texas A&M and their pitching. Certainly surprised that Penn held them to 3 runs in the first game or 2. That being said, I'm not worried about this A&M hitting lineup, not one bit. They got plenty of bats. They're going to score runs. So the story to me is their pitching was much better in week 2. Hats off to A&M. Stayed undefeated.
Yeah, so that brings us to Texas and LSU. I'll get things started with the Longhorns. Hosted Michigan State, who last weekend took 2 out of 3 at Louisville, who was number 8 at the time. Texas wins 8-1 on Friday. Ruger Riojas throws 6 innings, ties a career best 10 punchouts, gave up 1 earned run. Saturday, they beat Michigan State 3-1. Aiden Robbins, their center fielder, 4 for 4, hit for the cycle. And then today, won 4-0. And Vlantis went 7 innings, no earned runs, struck out 9. Their pitching staff is really good. They used Grubbs in relief and Burns in relief on Saturday, with Luke Harrison going a hair over 4 innings. So they get to use some of their key bullpen pieces as well. Mendoza had a home run, couple stolen bases, and I believe 6 hits on the weekend. Rodriguez had a few nice doubles this weekend as well. So, this Texas team is a team that's going to win both at the plate and on the mound this year. Very deep roster for them. And then over to LSU, and I'll get your final thoughts on these two teams. LSU played Indiana on Friday, won 14-7. Had a huge eighth inning to score 8 runs, I believe, maybe 9, to take the lead in that one, and never looked back the rest of the weekend. Beat Notre Dame 9-4, UCF 11-0 today. The guys on the mound are good at LSU, still adjusting to their roles a bit. The bats came alive this weekend. Zach York hit a bomb on Friday. Jake Brown was 4 for 5 yesterday. Brown added 2 more hits and 3 RBIs today. Milam finished with, I think, 6 hits on the weekend as well. Mason Braun, who came in to pinch hit in game one, finished game one 3 for 3. So a lot to be happy about with the LSU bats. After facing a little adversity for 7 innings on Friday, once they had that big eighth inning, just never looked back this weekend. And if you're an LSU Tiger fan, that's what you want to see is when you get punched in the mouth a bit, you just respond and outscore your opponents. These 9, 10, 19, 20, 20-2 the rest of the weekend. So really, really big weekend for the Tigers to win the little D1 baseball streaming classic in Jacksonville, Florida this weekend. Any final thoughts on those two teams, Sweets?
On Texas, pitching was in 32 strikeouts and 4 walks in a 3-game series over Michigan State. You don't get much more dominant than that. Kept the rotation, Riojas, Harrison, Valente, working. What Texas is trying to get their hitters to be a little more patient at the plate this year. Assistant coach Troy Tulowitzki wants them to look at pitches and try to get deeper into counts. And they're happy with the way that's so far. They feel like they're being a little more patient at the plate as well as hitting the ball to all fields instead of trying to pull everything. Freshman standout Jonah Williams has been dinged up this year, but they still want to get him in there. And freshman Anthony Pack Jr. Has started the season off incredibly. Where was he at? I think he started off the season 7 for 12 now. Just a fantastic job for a true freshman. Kev, thoughts?
Yeah, so Texas dominant, pitching. We know their pitching's good, but they were dominant this weekend. Gave up 2 runs. Atlantis is outstanding. He's pitching on Sunday. He might be their Friday guy. That being said, Riojas could be too. But Volantis could be the Friday night guy for probably 90% of teams in college baseball. I would just say that. The other person that I would call out for Texas, just because he's been good in every game, is Ethan Mendoza. Really good player. If he keeps playing the way he is, he's certainly going to be all conference, might be an All American. He might get his name in the SEC Player of the Year hunt. But I don't think, everybody knew he was going to be good. But I don't think people thought that going into the season. Look, Texas is a good team. They have no weaknesses. They're going to score runs. They've got dominant pitching. They're not going to lose many games. And then if I would go into the LSU scenario this weekend, I would just say their bats continue to hit the ball well. Jake Brown, Curiel, Milam, they lead them. Dardar's hitting the ball well. York had a big home run. So they're deep. They're, no surprise. We've talked about it. They're going to hit it. The one thing that really was good to see for LSU was what we saw today. It was William Schmidt coming on and, only walking one batter. Still a little high pitch count for 5 innings, went into the 90s in 5 innings. But with what he pitched, the way he pitched today and the way that he showed today, could he eventually end up as the Friday night starter for LSU? And I think, that coaching staff, that's what they want to see, and that's where they would like to end up. So it was good to see him pitch well. Good to see that, and we'll see where that goes. But these two teams, DMAC, you saved them for last. They're still the two best teams in the SEC. They proved that. So, I don't know, Switch, if you got anything you want to say about LSU?
Nah, nah. They look good. Keep winning games. Keep hitting the ball. The pitching's been fantastic. Jake Brown's been great. York, getting motorboated, fantastic, fun to see. Keep hitting the ball. The outing by Schmidt today was fantastic. See, really wanted to see him step up and put in some good work, and he did that today. So, just great job all around. Jay Johnson's got the team going well. It's the first time that they've been 8-0 under Jay. So great job. We just looking forward to is it McNeese on Tuesday?
Yeah, the
Should be a
Cowboys.
good. Yeah, McNeese isn't awful. What was that?
The Cowboys.
Yeah, McNeese got some talented kids over there, and this is a World Series game for them. They're playing the defending national champions. So when a team like LSU plays these mid majors and some of these smaller colleges, this is their game of the season. I mean, they're playing the national champions. They're gonna most of them are gonna. Some will mess with their rotation and try to throw a different guy at them or whatever to get a win, because it's neat to say that you beat the national champions. But LSU looks fantastic. Looking forward to it. Texas looks fantastic. Probably the two best teams in the country, at least in my opinion. Looking forward to a lot of fun baseball this year.
Yeah, baseball season is upon us. We get games every day this week, starting with some non SEC stuff with TCU and a few others tomorrow. So we will be back live Tuesday to talk some basketball recap and may even drop some fun baseball content for you. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and we'll keep bringing you guys the awesome baseball content all season long.